Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a skill that's maybe not the first thing you think of as a data scientist or ML engineer, but it is absolutely critical. Building a community around your project. We get so focused on writing clean code or tweaking a model for that extra point of accuracy. But you know what? The real long-term success of any MLOps project, it's all about its ability to bring people in and empower them to collaborate. So let's get into how you actually do that.
So, let me kick things off with a question that probably keeps a few of you up at night. Why is it that some technically amazing, genuinely brilliant MLOps projects just fizzle out? You know the ones. The code is solid, the idea is innovative, but they just never get the traction they deserve. What's going on there?
Well, the answer is actually pretty simple, but it's a really big deal. Code by itself is just static. It's the people, the users, the contributors, the folks who advocate for it. They're the ones who bring a project to life. A healthy community is the engine that drives the project forward, that ensures quality, and that gives it a future that goes way beyond just you and your keyboard.
Okay, so how do we build one? Where do we even start? Well, like any good engineering project, you've got to start with a solid foundation. You need a blueprint before you start building. And for a community, that blueprint is made up of two key documents.
First up is the Code of Conduct. I want you to think of this as the constitution for your project's community. Its number one job is to create a space that feels safe and welcoming for every single person, no matter who they are. By being super clear about what's expected behavior, you're setting a positive, respectful tone right from day one.
And next, we have the contribution guidelines. So if the Code of Conduct is the how we behave, this document is the how we get stuff done. It's the practical, hands-on roadmap for anyone who wants to chip in, and it covers everything from coding standards to how the pull request process works. This is what makes collaboration smooth instead of chaotic.
And these two documents, they really work hand in hand to solve two completely different problems. The Code of Conduct, that's tackling the social risk, preventing a toxic or unwelcoming vibe that can kill a project before it even gets going. The contribution guidelines, on the other hand, tackle the technical risk of messy, inconsistent, or low-quality code. You absolutely need both to create a project that's not just effective, but also a great place to be.
All right, with those foundational documents locked in, you've officially laid the groundwork. So now what? How do we go from that foundation to a genuinely thriving community hub? This is where we get into the active, day-to-day human part of the equation. Building a community is a marathon, not a sprint. And these are the pillars that hold it all up. I want to call out two things here that are just massive. First, recognition. Seriously, publicly celebrating all kinds of contributions, not just the huge code drops, but bug reports, documentation fixes, everything. That creates this amazing feedback loop that just makes people want to do more. And second, documentation. As an ML engineer, your docs are your single greatest tool for getting people involved. Great docs are a welcome mat that says, come on in, it's easy to get started.
Let's dig a little deeper on empowering your contributors, because this is where the magic happens. Your code reviews, think of yourself as a coach, not a critic. They should be kind, constructive, and educational. Another huge win, curating a list of good first issues. This is like rolling out the red carpet for newcomers and helping them get their first easy win. And mentorship? Oh, it's a game changer. Pairing someone new with a seasoned pro just accelerates their learning and makes them feel like they truly belong.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds like a ton of work. And you're not wrong. It is. As your project grows, you can't manually manage every little thing. But this is where our engineering mindset kicks in. We automate. Think of these tools as your co-pilots, helping you fly the plane and maintain quality as you scale up.
Which leads us to a really great question for any engineer who wants to be more efficient. Can you actually automate parts of this? The quality control, the time-sucking parts of code reviews. Can you get some help?
The answer is a resounding yes. Tools like Google Gemini Code Assist were built for this exact purpose. It can jump in as an automated reviewer, spotting issues early, and handling the routine checks. That frees up your human reviewers to focus on the big picture stuff, the architecture, the logic, the things that really need a human brain.
And check this out, it is not complicated to set up. With just a few lines of YAML and a config file like this, you're telling Gemini, hey, every time a new pull request comes in, I want you to review it, give me a summary, and drop comments right on the lines that need work. It's an incredible time saver for your maintainers.
Okay, that's a huge help with the code itself. But what about the process? How do you enforce your project's rules, like requiring reviews before merging, when you've got tons of people contributing? How do you keep things from getting chaotic?
For that, you use GitHub rule sets.
This is an incredibly powerful feature that basically lets you act as the bouncer for your repository. You define the rules for your branches one time, and GitHub makes sure they are followed automatically every single time. No exceptions. And here's a real-world example of what that looks like. This JSON file sets up the rules for the main branch. You can see right here it's enforcing two critical things. First, you can't merge anything without at least one approving review. And second, all those automated status checks you run, like tests and linters, they all have to pass. It's your quality gate, and it's completely automated.
So this really brings everything back to our central theme. This quote just nails it. A fantastic community, just like a robust MLOps pipeline, does not happen by accident. It's an engineered system. It requires thoughtful design, active maintenance, and deliberate, consistent effort.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. As you're planning out your next sprint, ask yourself this question. What are you going to build next? Is it going to be another feature? Or are you going to invest that time in building your next great contributor? Because the answer to that question might just define the entire future of your project. Thanks for watching.